the main challenges related to automatic noise monitoring in the cities and using a specific this technology about a network of sensors. This is the outline of this round table that we will be talking this morning. First of all, we introduce our expert or speakers. First of all, we have with us Mr. Wolfer, that has been already introduced. A great honor. Thanks for joining us, Hank. Also, we have invited Mark Boer from Urbiotica. And finally, we have with us Dr. Rosa Maria Alsina from La Salle, Ramon Llull University. She will talk about specific developments about software to analyze this kind of acoustic signal processing things related to noise monitoring.
A focus group of noise is a platform for cities which are working on noise monitoring. It started in Gdansk many years ago. They launched a project, not only at the airport, but also in the streets of Gdansk. Installing sensors on the walls on the facades of buildings. And then I was interested in that kind of monitoring activities. And I brought together a lot of cities who are interested in institutes as well. And they are mentioned here on this slide. And I'm sure I have forgotten some, but I apologize for that. Because it's not only cities, but it's also universities and knowledge institutes and so on. And we try, like Working Group Noise, because it's a subgroup of Working Group Noise, to exchange knowledge and experience, and also to identify new developments and innovations, and try to support the EU-funded projects, because there are a lot of projects running on noise monitoring. And as far as we are involved, we try to support them, and not only when drafting an application, but also taking part in the project group or maybe in the advisory group. And recently, about 1 year ago, we started also to do peer reviews, reviewing the noise monitoring systems, not only the hardware and the software, but also the orgware, the manware, the organization, but also netware, the infrastructure, and also how to communicate, because that is very important, how to communicate the data which was found to the public, but also to the politicians or to the policymakers and other stakeholders. And also we are interested in the use of open data. Some examples from the Vonnemok, a selection. First, the City Hall Square in Rotterdam, the Monza project, IDEA, ID project from Ghent many years ago. I will give you an example of Rumeur, which is an application that is run by Bruit Paris in the Paris region, Medusa also from Bruit Paris, and something about the Maasvlakte, which is a large industrial area in the Rotterdam area. This is the City Hall Square, and you see it's very cozy. This is in the summer. Go to Rotterdam in the autumn, in the spring, or maybe in the winter, and you don't see anybody. Yes, they are all inside. They are all coconists. When I left Rotterdam 2 days ago, the temperature was 13 degrees. Yes, and it's still it's better here. Yes, I will stay for a while. What are we doing there? There are a lot of terraces and there are a lot of restaurants and bars, and they make a lot of noise, and we have a lot of complaints because close to that area there are living people, and they have complaints because the restaurants and the bars are closing at midnight or after midnight. And there are also events. When there is a championship of Feyenoord, which is the Rotterdam club, luckily it's not so much, because only last year they won the national championship, but now they don't do anymore, because I think they are on the 6th place. There are a lot of people there outside shouting and making a party because Feyenoord is in it. And we have installed sensors and microphones on the facade of the buildings where the people are living. And there we are measuring noise, with Metraio, that is a special device, and the people in the bars can see the noise because that is depicted on a screen. And when the noise is too high, then the screen will send a message to the owner of the bar. Okay, you are producing too much noise. Please lower the noise. Yeah, so that is a remote application. The Monza project is a low emission zone. It's a combination of noise monitoring by low-cost sensors, but also involvement of the public, involvement in terms of, okay, they gave the public an app and they can say something about the livability and about the perception, but they also try to have contest. Okay, let the public come, the residents in that area, with proposals and solutions how to solve the problem in that area. And it is a restricted area, of course, so that means not so much traffic, because most of the problems are solved in terms of noise, but there are still some problems left. This is the IDEA project, which was run by the University of Ghent, with all kinds of sensors, and mainly they measured noise and PM. And they also tested a lot of microphones. And that was one of the first projects that was involved in the Phonomok project. This is the Paris region application, Rumeur. You can see all the spots, all the measuring points. And when clicking on one of the points, that's not online, so it's offline, so it's not possible. Then you see the noise in function of time. You can choose the window from 1 minute till a week or a month or a year, and you can extract all the data like the LEQ, the LMAX, and so on, the LDAN over the whole year. Introduction is already done. But this will be the outline. First, I will tell something about Eurocities, which is a large network of European large cities, more than 130. Then something about the working group noise, and then some experience we have in our working group noise, because a lot of cities are in that working group, and they tell us about the project they are running, but also the problems they are encounter. And of course, some questions and answers. This was the introduction, so I can skip this. Eurocities was founded in 1986 by the founding fathers, which were Rotterdam, but also Barcelona, and also Madrid and Milan and other cities in Europe, Birmingham. And it covers all the municipal policy domains. So not only environmental issues, but also issues about mobility, about urban planning, about social affairs, about e-governance, and so on and so on. You name it, and it is covered by Eurocities. And as I said, there's more than 130 major European large cities. And one of the main objectives of the Eurocities is to influence upcoming European legislation or policies or requirements. Because I think there are a lot of people working at the European Commission and European Parliament, very smart and clever people, but they didn't work in the field before. And that means that we have to bring forward the constraints and the obstacles we are encountering every day during the work we have to do due to the European legislation. And we try to reinforce the role and the position of the local government, because the local government is very important. They have to do it. We all know the book of Benjamin Barber, If Mayors Ruled the World. That means that it happens in cities. Thinking about climate change, thinking on air pollution, and so on. Cities take their responsibility. And we also work on gaining interest in sustainability. because it's important that we deliver this world to our children and to our grandchildren. And it should be livable. And another objective of Eurocities is to exchange the knowledge and the experience, because some cities have specific experience and knowledge in a certain domain or in a certain issue, and they can deliver that, exchange that experience and knowledge to other cities. So you can work together, and working together means that there is more effort, there is more outcome. This is the organization. We have once a year an annual general meeting. We have a political board, it's the executive committee, that are the aldermen of cities, and we have an officers board, and in that officers board there are officers department, there are a lot of working groups and environment and forums, and every forum is build up working groups. But we have a social forum, as already said, mobility, economy, knowledge, culture, and environment. In another way, and then you see here in the, we don't have a pointer, I think, the working groups on the environment, which is in the middle. And you see that we have air quality, clean cities, green areas, and biodiversity, very important when speaking about climate change, especially climate adaptation. Bringing the local economy, making small and medium enterprises more aware about about greening their activities and greening their company. Noise, of course, and I will go in depth later. Working group waste management, because circular economy is a hot topic these days, because we have to reduce and also reuse and recycle everything. We don't have waste anymore, but we have substances we can use every time again. And water management. And then the working group Noise. It's about 30 members. We are meeting twice annually. And we mainly contribute to the Environmental Noise Directive, because that is one of the obligations from the EU. We have to make noise maps and noise action plans, and we are exchanging the knowledge and experience about this. And we try also to influence the refit and also the rebuilding of the new Environmental Noise Directive. And beside that, we also work on quiet road surfaces, because we try to exchange the experience in some cities and regions about quiet road surfaces. We're doing that by means of a leaflet, noise mapping and noise action planning, the problems and the obstacles or constraints we are encountering every day. We're making the noise maps are on during a round table during the meetings of Working Group Noise, and we try to find solutions. And sometimes solutions are found in one city and can be transported to another city. We also work on source policies, noise sources, like vehicles and tires. We are promoting the use of best tires, because best tires, which are already on the market, they are beneficial for air quality, they are beneficial for fuel efficiency, they are beneficial for noise as well, because they are quieter. And we try to ask cities, councils, when it comes to public procurement, okay, maybe it's possible to choose for the best tire. Large outdoor events, because every city wants to be attractive, attracting a lot of people, and that means that the residents are confronted with a lot of noise because of the music and because of the traffic going to the event or from the event. We are also working on construction noise, because nowadays all the cities are under construction or a part of the city, and waste activities and noise. That the leaflet on waste and noise waste activities and noise will be published end of this year. We try to influence European noise policies, and not only the END, the Environmental Noise Directive, but also the source policies, and try to gain awareness among people. And not only people in the street, the residents, but also the politicians and the policymakers. Because noise is often forgotten when it comes to policies, to urban policies. And the last thing I want to mention here in this sheet is we try to identify or to initiate or participate or support in European funded projects. Eurocities can help you to make applications for European funds by supporting you as a city, trying to helping to make an application, and also they can participate in European projects. As Working Group Noise, we have a lot of positions already made this year, this era. I started 13 years ago, and we had a position on tires, on the emission limit values, because we stated that there are that we need stricter limits when it comes to tire emission, noise emission, and also tire labeling, which is important to promote the use of or better tires. Also on freight trains and other trains, we had a position, we asked the Commission for stricter emission limit values. We worked on the first review of the END and also on the second, on the refit of the END, the Environmental Noise Directive. We published a position on motorized 2- and 3-wheelers and all the quadruple wheelers, which are very noisy, because when speaking about 2- and 3-wheelers, then you have to bear in mind that most of the motorbikes and the mopeds are provided not with legal parts, like exhausts, but with illegal parts. 60% of the motorbikes have illegal parts, so they make more noise than is allowed due to the European Commission ordinances. We worked also on outdoor equipment noise and on the refit of the Environmental Noise Directive. Locally, we have a lot of problems in cities because, first of all, we have also of course, to deal with traffic noise, but also, as I already mentioned, with construction noise. Construction noise that can last a lot of weeks and sometimes months and sometimes years, because in the Rotterdam area we worked 7 years on a tunnel, over-tunneling of the railway, which comes from the south and goes to the Rotterdam area. Leisure noise, because a lot of events are, but also bars and discos and cafeteria and so on. Airport noise, of course, not to forget. Railway noise, because a lot of railway tracks are crisscrossing our cities. Event noise I already mentioned. And last but certainly not least, neighborhood noise or neighbor noise, because your neighbors can produce a lot of noise. Not only when having a quarrel, shouting and that kind of things, but also when using the leaf blower or using the lawn mower, that can make a lot of noise. Of having a barbecue with a lot of people, very cozy, but the noise levels will rise hour by hour. Cities have to deal with noise, and that's not from the last 10 years, because this is from about a century ago. And there you see, okay, we had cities, we have to deal with traffic, with transportation, building or construction noise, and so on and so on. By means of the noise maps, we have made an inventory. Made an inventory of noise in Europe, and you see that road traffic noise is the most important sort of noise in Europe, especially in urban areas. And here you see traffic noise, a graph of traffic noise during the night and during the day. And these are the noise classes, 55 to 59, and so on, and the total amount of noise. This is based on the second round, and they derived from the Noise Observatory. And I think that maybe within a few months we will have the most accurate data, because then the data of the third round is also included. Okay, noise impacts not only people in terms of annoyance or sleep disturbance, but especially long-term noise, long-term exposure to noise has health effects. And by the WHO, the World Health Organization, was calculated that there are some lost life years, 22,000 dailies for tinnitus, and so on. For annoyance, 654,000 for annoyance, and 45,000 lost life years annually for cognitive impairment, and also for sleep disturbance and ischemic heart diseases. And sometimes it will lead in a fatal action like a heart attack, and sometimes previous death, a premature death. Here in another way, it's stolen from an infographic of the European Commission. Types of noise management in our cities. Some cities do have a zoning system. That means you have to keep distance between the noise sources and the sensitive objects, which are the houses, the hospitals, the schools, and so on. And not all cities do have it, and sometimes a zoning system is given by the national government, and sometimes it's done by the local government. And a zoning system means, okay, you can avoid a lot of noise when you have some distance between those two destinations, between noise sources and the houses. Of course, we need legislation to do this, and not only for zoning, but also for other applications. And some cities do have a lot of noise legislation on industrial noise, on traffic noise, on leisure noise, on construction noise, and so on. And some just have only less legislation, only the obligations from the Environmental Noise Directive to make a noise map and to make a noise action plan. Some cities do have to conduct noise measurements or noise monitoring, and some do not. But we see a trend that more cities are taking up the noise measurements, because I think that a lot of people do not rely on the data which is delivered by means of the noise maps, because it's an annual average noise level that is presented, the LDEN or the LNIGHT, and that's annual averaged. But people say, okay, I'm annoyed now, I'm awaking now, and that doesn't. I don't see the relation between getting awake or getting annoyed and the LDEN or the LNIGHT. So I think it's more, especially to communicate with people, with the residents, noise measurements are more important and are getting more important. Inspection and enforcement, some cities do have, and some cities do not have. Because you need legislation to enforce and to inspect whether noise is within the limits. And if you do not have legislation, then it means you can't enforce. There is no fine. You can only friendly ask, please, could you be a little bit quieter? Yeah? A lot of cities do already working on interventions to mitigate or to reduce the noise. And I will show some of them, because I can't show everything, because it's really too much. And one of the things which is very important is the urban planning and noise, because when choosing for the right urban planning, when replanning a district or a city, a part of a city, then you can take into account not only all environmental issues, but especially noise, because there is a lot of measures that are possible. And of course, adaptation and make the city more resilient. That's not only for climate change, but also for noise. One of the best practices, or one of the measures that were presented during the working group noise, was the street design. Here you have before, on the left-hand side, you see before redesign, and on the right-hand side, you see how it is today, after the redesign. And then you see that the trucks which make the most noise, they are equivalent to 13 to 20 passenger cars. They are now in the middle of the road. This is not the middle of the road solution for the right understanding. But in this way, you can keep the noise as far from the houses